Okay, we have a set of Heli-Bars, and I'm going to do a comprehensive video on showing how to install them. Now, Heli-Bars they have designs for many types of motorcycles. I'm putting mine on a Concours 14, 2015 model. And I have bought these used. This is a complete kit, so I'm going to go over some things ahead of time and try to get you more acclimated with this unit and to show you exactly on a self-install. And you can save some money from having to pay a dealer. I heard two estimates from a dealer. One was 2 hours and another one was 5. And about $150 an hour. You can do the math. It's going to be expensive. So I'm going to do it myself and save that money. But I'm going to go over this. This is a complete kit I got here. I did buy it used, but it is a complete kit. And let me go over some things ahead of time. This will be the main bar, and it has a curve to it. Put it right here so we can see it better. And it has a curve to it. Now this is what's going to go into that cradle right here. And it's going to fit just like that. This is going to go in there. You'll see this is called knurling. And this piece right here is going to bolt on top of it. And that's how you adjust that the main handlebar system right there. Now normally if you're going to install this, I want you to take all these pieces off, because that way you're a lot lighter weight, and it's easier to deal with it. Now I'll show you instructions and all that stuff. I have the instructions right here and everything. These are called the end caps, and on this top piece they're always going to point out. This is where you're going to do your main adjustability out of this piece right here. The company wants you to put this at a 45-degree angle, this piece where my thumb is, to when you mount it on your motorcycle. Now all your adjustability is right there. Let me go over this a little bit more. This piece right here has a Allen key that goes in, and you can see that notch right there. That notch limits your amount of adjustability. This has built-in safety features, like say this bolt comes out. You'll only have the ability to move this so much, this piece right here, which is kind of a safety feature. And I think that's pretty cool. This one has the ability, you can adjust it from right here to turn this up and down. And this has the ability to turn in a couple different ways. So in actuality, this area, this thing right here, can adjust in many fashions. And we're going to go over a lot of that about your adjustability and where you want to set that in this video. And let me get to the other parts. Okay. Now these are where your handlebars are. Now, I took a look at this and it took me a while to figure out what goes where. It's not until you take this top piece off that it'll say left or right on there. And I went ahead and marked it on the bottom side. These are going to mount like this. This will be the right side. Also, where my thumb is, you can see that's the indentation where you put throttle stop. It's the throttle system. And the left. You can see the cap. Also, take a look where my thumb is. These are built-in limits on it. So like I said, if this ever falls out or comes loose, you can only go so far in your adjustment, and it's a safety feature. Really cool, really great engineering. Now this one does have a notch, but it's on it'll be my palm side, and it'll fit in kind kind of like that. I wanted to go over these parts first to kind of give you an idea where to start at. Like I say, take the pieces off. If you want to label them like I did, that'd be a good idea. These are powder coated, so they're pretty daggum durable. Now the bag has a lot of nuts and bolts, and I believe the long ones go here and the short ones go here. Now let me get this booger open. Gotta do this. Okay. Now this is something important. These are the extension clutch and brake line. This piece, this is called a banjo fitting, is going to go underneath your reservoir on your brake side or your clutch side. Now when you disconnect it, this is like your third step. You need to retain them washers. If you lose them washers, you can use an aluminum or a copper one on top and bottom here. You're going to have a washer to seal this up. Down here you can see where my finger is flipping at. That is the two washers for this piece. But it's going to mount like this. This banjo, it's going to have a piece just like this. It's going to go in right where my finger is. And that's the first thing you want to do. You want to have tons of not paper towels, cloth towels around underneath this to keep this from leaking on your nice paint job, because it will mess your paint job up. But this is like the third step that you want to put on. Something else you will need to look at doing is running your throttle cable. It goes in front of your, right now it's in front of your triple clamps. You're going to have to loosen them up and put them around the back side of your triple clamps. I would advise to get some nice good size zip locks, and wherever we're going to tie these off in certain areas. This you're going to tie off against this tube, probably right about like that. See how that's up there like that, and that's down there like that. It'll be in that region like that. But this is to give you that extension so you can reach. Now we are going to go over the instructions, and I'll do that here in just a little bit. But I want you to get an idea of what's going on first. Get to know your parts. Read, and go over your steps when you get ready to install this. That way you kind of have an idea of what you're doing. You're not approaching it blind. And please always read your instructions. These guys are the experts. They know what they're doing. So this is to get you started. Like I said, see how that's got that funny little kink? It goes on the left side. That one goes on the right. That'll be your throttle one. The throttle one has the notch right there. So I'm going to go over this and do a comprehensive video. In fact, I've never seen a comprehensive video on installing these, especially on a Concours. And we're going to go over how to adjust all these out. You want to set it to where the Kawasaki Concours is a torture device for your hands, and that's the reason why I got these, and the seat. Well, that's another video. But I want to get the torture out of it so I can do long touring. And I got the sport of the bike down. Now I need the touring part taken care of, and that's why I got these. Now this is a beginning, so we're going to do more videos on this. So y'all have a good one, and we'll get more videos going. Okay, I got the instruction book out, and I'm going to go over page by page, and you guys do a screenshot and can print this out. Like say, if you buy, the reason is, if you buy a used set and you don't get the instructions, right here you have the instructions. There is the part number and the company name. and the patent information. Let's go over to the next page. Well, okay. Typical first page is giving you some information and warranty, return policy stuff. They ask you to have a mechanic install it. Anyhow, here's the pages that really mean anything. That'll be the first page. Again, do a screenshot and copy it and print it out. Here's the second page. Now this gentleman that I bought it from, he ended up changing the numbers to the right ones, the photos to the right ones. Anyhow, page 1, 2, 3, copy and paste that and print it. Oh, that's page 5, sorry. Let me get my fingers underneath there. Okay, it's page 6 and 7. Page 6, copy and paste it, and or copy it and or screenshot it, whatever. Get you a copy of it. Here it talks about the handlebars must be torqued properly, not over torqued or under torqued. I would advise using Loctite, a blue Loctite. That's page 7. Here are some of the photos. Photo 1, photo 2, and that gives you a good layout of the way the extensions on the brake line and the clutch line are. Photo 3 shows how the adapter bolts onto the triple clamp. Photo 4 shows how it's laid out, the degree or the angle back of the bars. Photo 5A shows the placement of how you get the throttle cables out and around the triple clamp. Same with 5B, photo 5B. Photo 6, here it shows the extension and how there's your reservoir and how it comes down and how all that lays out, and there's that zip tie. Here's another picture similar to that. Okay, now on the back it's showing, that'll be photo 8. That's your ignition, and it's showing where the cable bolt downs are, right beside the ignition on that adapter plate. Okay, let's go to page 11. This is kind of a diagram. I'm falling. Okay. Kind of a diagram of how the extensions, the brake line and the clutch line, there is a gasket top and bottom, and it'll be top and bottom of that too, that banjo fitting. And this shows how the original, or how the one, it should be, when you install it on the bike, it should be like that. But anyhow, do a copy of this screenshot, save and print. That was page 11. Page 12 is empty. No, page 12 does have a very, very light design on it. and it shows how the Heli-Bars connect in and where all the bolts are. Now you can see these are called safety caps that'll be on the left and right on the upright position, and the safety caps on the bar ends are going to be on the bottom side, and that's why I say to use blue Loctite on that little screw right there. And these are the Rebel ST bars. Take a screenshot and print that page too. That was page 12. This is page 13. Information about the powder coated bars. Okay, page 14, trailing with the Heli-Bars. Use a soft tie around the triple tree, the bottom triple clamp. Good information. This also says do not use the handlebar grips or the mounts to hold down your motorcycle with. That's very good information. Page 15 is empty and 16 is empty. Okay, so that's your manual on installation of the Heli-Bar handlebars. Okay, we're starting our process, and what we're doing is I've had a lot of accessories. You want to take all your accessories off first. You take your bar ends off. There is a screw that goes on the top right there that holds these throttle cables and stuff like that. You want to take that loose, and all these that are underneath that wire where my finger is, there's a wire that holds them out. You want to pull all them out. That's your throttle cables and such. And on this side you can see my GPS stuff. I pulled it out of the way to get all that off of your handlebars so you can get ready to start removing this process. You need to take these little caps out and remove, well, not remove them, get the caps out. The next thing, I'm going to work on this grip right here. It's glued down, and I'm going to try to go in the back side and draw something in there and try to get that out without breaking it, because it is a heated grip, and that's the thing I'm going to work on next. And then after I get that loose, then you're going to come and remove this is your brake and that's your clutch. I'll put some towels underneath here, and I'm going to put that brake line and connect it into this. After we get that brake line connected in, then we remove the handlebars, and I'm going to get rid of the blocks and all that stuff. But steps in the process. Okay, let me get off to another video. Okay, another video on taking the old handlebars off and putting the new Heli-Bar kit on. We were talking about the heated hand grips, and the left side one is glued down. The right side one, throttle, has a tube, so it's only glued onto the tube, and so basically it's an unbolt situation on that one. Whereas this one, you have to get between the rubber itself and this metal tube and try to release it from its, you glue these on. And the advice was take a thin, basically a thin style screwdriver. I've had this one for a long time. It's older than most of you watching this video. And run it in between here. Get it as deep as possible. You can see this one's not long enough, and you need to really find one that's thin like this and that can reach from there to there, longer than this one. and try to remain at an angle while you're going up through here, because I was on the back side and I was pushing it not at an angle, and it punched a hole through this. So now I get to buy me another grip, which is an electric one and is in the $100+ range. So crap, that added some more money to the cost of this. But I'm not joking. The hardest part of putting this Heli-Bar kit on is taking this left grip off. Now the wire will be pointing down like that. The end needs to be open like that so you can get to it. But anyhow, another series in this. As you can see down here, I had this grip on here, and I ended up just cutting it off. This put way too much pressure on that other grip. Where's it at? Right there. As far as keeping that booger on. And I come to find out it was an insulator to my heating grip. So I got one on the right side. I'm going to see about taking it off. But also take all these off when you remove that, because this makes these extra hard to get off. And I worked today with this on there and didn't think about that, and I finally just cut it off. But good information in this video. I'll keep working. I got something to do on that right side throttle, but more in the replacing the regular handlebars with the Heli-Bars. Okay, these are the two hoses that are the extensions. This is going to be the part that mounts up to the bottom of the brake and clutch reservoir. You need to make sure you have the original gaskets to replace them to. Well, not to replace them, but to reuse them. These will go on the bottom of the reservoirs. And this is an extension. This right here is a 12 millimeter, and that right there is a 14 millimeter. And you will need 2 gaskets that come with the kit, like that. This piece will bolt into down here, and you need to kind of line this up to where it kind of runs along that tube of the handlebar. So I'm going to lay a bunch of cloths down so I don't get any brake fluid on my paint and stuff like that, and try to do this out as quick as possible. Anyhow, we'll bleed these later, and that'll be in the video. So that's what we're doing right now. Okay, I'm setting up my area. See how I got all the towels set up? Here's the clutch reservoir, and I'll be removing that nut from right there where my finger is. And on this side, the nut right there. See how I got all these cloths set up to catch anything that flops over. Now I have a cover on my motorcycle, and I've got it piled up underneath that area to protect it all. So this is the next step, and let me get that switched out and get a short video of that. Okay, got the lines on, and oh, well, crap, hell, yeah. As you can see, the bottom that went up to the reservoir goes in like this. Now they're kind of wonky right now because they're up there like that, but it's because I haven't got this taken off. And let me get a good look right there. Right there. You can see that's a banjo fitting, and you want the tube to go along the handlebar system where it was at. Now this will lengthen out. Like right now, I got all my stuff taken out, the caps out, and that'll be my next operation, is to remove the handlebars. Actually, to remove the switches first, I'm sorry. Switches first, and this will come off in assembly. Just slide off, then I can take them handlebars off. But you can see that line goes right there and comes up right there. You can see the banjo head right where my finger is right there. And this is going to fit along, like I said, the handlebar. You know, take some zip ties and maybe put a couple of loops right there on the other handlebars. But right now it kind of looks wonky like that, but we're getting that out of the way. You see, I still got all my cloths, and there wasn't a lot that dripped out. I am going back over and cleaning these off. That way they're all up in there. I'll take all this back off and cover the bike up for when I come back out and do some more work on it. But the day right now is just about done, so off to the next one. Alrighty. As you can see, well, there goes my cover. As you can see, I've removed this stuff off of my triple trees. And I have put all the nuts and screws back onto the stuff. I laid a cloth down, and I've got my extensions on. I showed that in a previous video. And I just laid this cloth down, that way none of this was going to hurt my bike. And I put all the screws and everything back together. I used a 8mm, of course a 10. That is an Allen, that's number 4. That's a number 6. Now the bar ends should be a number 8 on that. Now the screw head, to get the exact head, was PZ2. If you have one of these kits like that, PZ2, where my thumb is in the way, was the exact right fit. To taking the switches, over here on these switches, and it was on the back side right there. Yeah. Okay, now I'm leaving these kind of in place. I'm going to get all this stuff out of the way. Now, this needs to be cleaned. There's some crap on here, and I want this baby butt smooth. 2 of these bolts here and here will be used. This one won't be used. Get these cleaned, make sure it's dry, and we're going to put that base down that goes here. Right now is when we're going to start building this back up. Now, another piece of advice I would recommend, you don't have to, but I would take the windshield off. I think it would be so much easier to just take the windshield off right now, since all you got to do, what size Allen is that? Is that number 4? That's number 4. Let's see. Okay, number 4. Take that and just take that booger off for now, and that's just to protect that booger. So what we're going to do now is I got to clean this off, because this is not a clean surface right here, and I don't remember doing this, but I know I didn't do it. It looks like there was some adhesive on top of this, but anyhow, I need to clean that up, because that mount will go right there that holds that handlebar system. And you use these outer 2 bolts. There'll be 4 bolts that hold that down. And then we're going to start building back from there. So that's my next phase right there. I've got these all set up. A little tip. Let me grab one of these handlebars. Okay, when I had this set up here, the stuff right here would not come out far enough to slide off. So I ended up taking all this off and moving this over and then sliding all this stuff off like this. And I put them nuts and bolts back on to keep this all together. And when I get back over here, I'll be able to do the same way. Take the Heli-Bar system and slide all that together and up on there, and leave it loose. Don't leave it tight. because that's after I get everything in place, then that's when I'll do my adjustments. And after I get all my adjustments done and everything locked in, then I'll do my brake bleeding, which I'll do a reverse brake bleeder using a V5 bleeder, and I'll show you all how I do that. And it works fantastic. One person operation works great. But you see them coming along, the stock ones. I'll put them in a pile. I should probably I'll find these stock bolts to put with them. I mean, just in case I ever need them again. But anyhow, that's where we're at right now. Cleaning this, getting everything prepared. We do a step at a time on this, and we've taken it all apart, taken it all down. We've got our extensions on now, and the next phase is to clean that up, make sure that's a good surface for our mount, and we're going to start building from there. And so stay tuned, and I got more videos on the way. Okay, off to the next step. This is our base that attaches in with a 50 millimeter, I measured it, 50 millimeter screw. Now these screws are stainless steel, and they do go all the way through. I mean, if you want to be anal, you could probably put nuts on the bottom side. It'll be easy on the bottom right here. A little bit tougher to do on that top side. But what I want you to do is to first put these in, and what we're going to do is, due to manufacturing tolerances, you know, they're going to fit in there kind of snugly. So what we're going to do, now that we got this in place, is we're going to pull one of these out at a time, and I'm going to get Loctite. Now this Kimball Midwest Torque Lock gel, it's a gel, really good stuff. I like this stuff a lot. I'm going to coat down about the bottom 1/4 of an inch and put that down in there and give it a good snugging. I know there's torque values on there that it gives you. You probably should go by that, but when you've done this long enough, you know when not to strip stuff. So I've done it long enough. I know when not to strip stuff. So that's what I'm going to do next, is pull these out, put that on there, and get that ready to be locked down. Like I said, one piece at a time. Now we're going to start building back. So off to the next video. Okay, thread locked and locked in place. Now when you torque this thing, this whole assembly is going to rotate like that. When it goes into lock, then you have a good system to lock and to get your wrench locked in place, and then tighten that booger down. Like I said, I should be using torque values, but I know when before I'm about to strip something. So these are all locked down, and the next piece to go on will be the handlebar, and then that piece on there. Handlebar's got to come out at a 45-degree angle. It's at the end of the handlebars where you get most of your adjustments. You can do some adjustments right here, but they want most of their adjustments to be at the end of the handlebar. Okay, so let's go off to another video. Okay, let's go over some things right now. I have the bars put on. They recommend that putting them at like a 45-degree angle back. These torque to 16 foot-pounds, and in this kit that I bought, now I bought this used, these were measured out about 50 millimeters. In the instruction book said it's supposed to be 30 millimeter. So if you do get something longer, having them screws, like say if you reach on that back side and have screws exposed, putting a nut on there would not be a bad idea. They recommend torquing them to 16 foot-pounds. Now on these, I did use red Loctite on these also. Now where my fingernail is, you'll you'll have to go down here and adjust these on front and back to where you get a gap on front and back. Don't just tighten one all the way down and then come down and do the next one. You need to get all of them, and it's like a credit card width there and there. Equal all that out. I'm testing some things, and I'm finding things out that with any installation of anything, you got to look for stuff. Now let me get a light on and see if we can get down here. Now down in this general area, see them wires that are right there? That was all zip tied to the top tube of the fork. And while turning this thing side to side, it jammed up a lot. So I cut that zip tie that was down there off. Now part of that is like when I'm talking about when you're going to be moving your handlebar, you know, left to right, this stuff that's on the side is going to be getting in the way. And so I'm going to have to reroute a lot of that stuff. You can see there's wires up there and all. You got to look at doing stuff like that, getting them maybe on top or on bottom out of this side area. And you can see this one comes on the top. Now that's what I found on this left side, the problems that I'm currently working through. Another problem while I was putting all this stuff on is that I want the extension to be over here against, let me get that out of the way. I want this extension, the clutch line extension, kind of over by this. So I'll have to readjust that and kind of point it, and it has a head over there that I'll point it and get it along this tube so I could zip tie, you know, along that tube. Kind of streamline this stuff is what I'm looking at doing to get this out of the way to make it easier to turn. Now on the other side over here, the problem I found is that these throttle cables, let me get my light again, the throttle cables, which is right here, goes, let me get that out of the way, goes between the top and bottom triple tree. And I need to get this disassembled and run these through on the inside to streamline and get it coming up on this back side to come along this tube. And I'll have to look at these wires too to make sure they're out of the way. That way when this thing turns, which I can't do it single-handed right now, is that you can see there's lines and wires and stuff that's kind of in the way, and I'm trying to get all that set up to get it out of the way. And I also want this brake line extension to kind of turned over and run along here. You can see I'm using towels on top of here. I've had to stop and redo and reassess and move things, and that's what you got to do into an installation. These are called pinch points where my finger is. I believe they torque to, it's 24 or 14, something like that. But again, these are part of the, right now I want to concentrate on this because these are the stuff that we're going to be adjusting. Now let me get that out of my way. You can see this a lot easier. There's that banjo joint, and I need to kind of point that over more over here, and that's why I was test fitting. Oh, there it is. That's that. That's a big old honking zip tie that was on that other side over there. Okay. Anyhow, I want to loosen this up and get it more over, and that's why I'm test fitting. I'll have to loosen that up and kind of get it to where I can put everything over here to where this all is going to move freer. That's the reason why I'm looking to move all that stuff, so it doesn't bind up when this is turning inside here. That's what I was finding. And that's what kind of put me at a standstill for a little while to figure all that stuff out. But that's part of the installation stuff you got to look at. Rerouting these wires. I got new grips on the way. By the way, I told you using a screwdriver to take them grips off. I destroyed that grip by accident. I found out this one wasn't working either, so I got another set of these heated hand grips on the way, and they also hook up, come on, work light, they hook up down there, and I got to find out, maybe the hook up there, I don't know. Well, anyhow, I got to find that hook up and disconnect them. I'll have to take this apart. I'll have to take it apart to get these lines off anyhow, because I want to reroute that throttle cable to where it's on this side and not binding up. All this has to turn freely in there, and that's my problem right now with all these wires and hoses and lines and stuff. So I got to get them to where they're not binding up in there. But that's where I'm at right now. I've got to get them hoses and everything lined up and out of my way, and then I can go on doing other stuff and adjusting stuff. So that was the video for this part right now. Catch you on the next one. Okay, working on this some more. I want to show you guys now. I've got the this is the brake, and this, you know, the switches, and I've got them mounted. To see how freely that moves. Now on this side, see how freely that moves. That's what I was after, about getting all them lines and wires and everything set up properly. I've got the banjo fitting pointed it towards this area, my finger art, and I got this up against that. That's what everybody shows, you know, to get that near that area. And I haven't zip tied these up yet, and I will sometime after I get all my my adjustments all taken care of. Now I took the throttle assembly apart. There's the other part, and there's the tube, to be able to worm it through these areas down here. Now I'm going to show you. Okay, you see that loop of a wire right there? You have to, these lines right here, which are the throttle cables, and this is your heated hand grip wire, is looped in that loop right there, and that's going to cause a big problem. That needs to be undone, and that's why I had to take all that stuff apart. Now right here by the shock tube is where the cables originally went through, right there, right above my flashlight, and that needed to come out to where they're in the open like this. That is to get them freer and more room to move around. My next step is putting that throttle on and adjusting all that out. That's going to take me more time because I found out my heated hand grips are no good and I have to replace them. Now, to get to the heated hand grips, I'm going to have to take this piece of plastic off right here to get to the end of this to disconnect it. On that one, I believe I could take the, what do you call that, glove box off and go through that section to disconnect it down there. So I may get easier on that one. And I did a video of these screw heads that I did. These are bad about breaking, and what I did to fix them. And Nate Choate has a neat bracket that goes in here. But anyhow, like I was showing on this, all this work to get these lines and stuff set up is to make this all where I can steer freely, get this to moving, to get this to be free. Now I know this is not going to move, but I want it to where I can get everything set up. And also, let me put that down. Right here is the brake line where my finger is. Right there's a nut that fits on that triple clamp that holds this. Yeah, you can see it right there. Holds that clamp that holds that down. And I did that on the other side too. I've got them set up. I got them coated with thread locker. These are buzz boxes, and they shake stuff loose. And so that is a part of the process here of getting them all set up to where they work. Now I tightened these up so it was easier to take the banjo fitting loose, but I can undo them and readjust them because they're not adjusted out properly, and I'll do that in a little bit. But working little processes like this to get this right. I don't want anything jamming up here to impede my ability to turn this thing, and that's why I'm doing that, and that's why I'm showing you guys this. Anyhow, good video here. Let's get on to doing more. Okay, this is the throttle tube, and this is the plug and the wire that goes to the heater element. Now I'm just going to come right out and say it, that if any of you think that you can pull this off this tube without damaging the heater element, you're fooling yourself. This one never did work right, so I'm getting others to replace them. Now this will be on the right hand side of your throttle tube. I'm just going to end up just cutting this off with a razor blade and keeping it off the plastic, and just reuse my, save my tube. I got another one coming. This is a protective guard that is really needed to protect that wire system right there. That's on the back side of where your switches are. Now the line runs down along the handlebar, goes down through here, and there's a bundle. You see where my hand is. There's a clip right there. You take a screwdriver and just pop that clip loose. You can see where my other finger is. That's where it comes together, and it's under this little cap right here. And that end piece, they're marked red, will be right in here. See right there. And it's a 2-wire system. It's fairly simple. To be honest, I don't think these are as good as they need to be, and I'm going to try to investigate into a aftermarket set that could probably work better and be more durable than what Kawasaki come up with right here. But anyhow, I got others. I bought a used set, and brand new. These suckers are horribly priced. $350 for 2 of them, brand new. I mean, that sucks. So while I was doing my handlebars, I'm checking all this out, and like I said, this is the right side one. I'll do another short video up when I get the left side undone. But while I'm here, this gives you room. You can see I took the plastics out of this area. That way I can get to this easier. And this gives you an idea looking down through here. This is that wire that the throttle cable was all wrapped around, and the cable to the heated hand grips. And this was jamming all this up and making it really hard to steer. So I'm going to have to come up some sort of way. This is the wire that comes up through here. So I'm going to do something about getting it over here out of the way, because I don't want it rubbing, and I don't want this to cause any jam of me steering and turning this thing. So I've got some work in front of me. I may be able just to push this back more and clip it with that original clip right there. But anyhow, that's on the right side hand grip heater. Let me see about doing the left side. Okay, the left side, heated hand grip. The line goes up. You can see down there, there's a clip that goes around, holds a bunch of wiring down there. It's not that one, it's a second one down there further. It goes through that, it comes up, it's right there, the line is right there, and it goes underneath that cap like it did on that right side. There's a bunch of clips right underneath here. See if I can do this. Right there where my hand is, that is underneath that. And they're all bundled up underneath here. And of course you can see that there's another clip right there. You have to undo that and pull it out from underneath that bundle. And that is where the clip is for the left side heated hand grip. Now this one's glued on. Now they say that you can use a screwdriver. I mean, see right there where my thumb is? That's me gently using a screwdriver on it, and it broke. And this partially worked. So I'm not going to recommend, you know, changing these out. I don't think this is the Kawasaki brand is very good anyhow. I got a used set coming on the way. I'll test them out and then put them on. But I got to get this disconnected first and pulled out. I'm going to look at maybe some off brands because this is a 2-wire system, to put it back together. That might work better using these stock original ones. That's what I want to do. Try to use the original stuff. But right now, that's what it takes to get the left one off. So let me stop this right now and get on to other work. Okay, it's working. I've had some time off with the holidays and being deathly ill. Crap like that always happens. At least when you need it. Don't need it. Anyhow, ran across a problem you may encounter when you have your throttle cable system off. Now I'm still in the process of putting everything together, and I have some different heated grips that I'm going to be putting on. And what I was working on was assembling the right side, all this assembly through here. I'm going to get everything loosely in place, find out the adjustments that I want, and then Loctite them down. And so while I'm in the process, I'm going to put some things together. I had this, and I'm rerouting a lot of this stuff underneath here. As I said before, this throttle cable went before and came up through here. Now I have it loose away from all these wires that were right here. And this is that cap right there where that the line goes to the heated hand grip. And I'm going to run that wire back up through there, and I believe through this to kind of follow along the handlebar. But while I had this apart, I was trying to throw everything together, and I was kind of confused at first. This section right here will go towards the come on, towards this end of the grip, and this end you see has a notch, and I don't feel a notch on the bottom side of that. But will also, let me show you, these kind of only line up one way, and I mess it up, of course. Well, What am I trying to do? Yeah. So like this, I get this out there, and I get it up, yeah. And it'll go kind of like that, where these screws are out this way. This piece is going to fit inside here, and this is a throttle lock or a crude cruise control. And to be honest, I've tried a bunch of them, and that works the best for me right now. You have this guard, which will cover this on the front. It'll be on the front right here. That ain't right. How does this? Yeah. Well, anyhow, I got to figure all that out. It's twisting up, and that's what I don't want it to do. Okay, like that. See, I got it undone where these two don't lock up. Now I'm going to put these, when I get this up like this, see these cables are down like that where my hand is. I'm going to put it towards the inside of that tube like that. And that way, when I move this handlebar, nothing's going to clog up or get hit or in the way. This electric hand grip line will go with this batch of wires, and I'll bring it up through here and up through here, and it'll fit in like that. Like I said, this is gonna this is a guard, and there's one screw right there. And I don't know what that other screw goes to. Yeah, I think it goes to right there. Something like that. Yeah, I think that's it. It gives some protection to the that piece right there. There's a type of a throttle lock or a cruise control. I used one similar to an Atlas, and it damaged these wires, and got to look out for stuff like that. Probably my fault. Anyhow, that's what I'm doing today. Like I said, I've been off for this for a while. Been sick, holidays and all that other stuff. Anyhow, throwing this together. Get back to work. Okay, a little short one that's going to give you some information on this throttle system. There's a push and a pull on these two wires right here, and as you can see, the pins go in like that, so you got to get down over my fingers. All these have to be loosened up all the way to get you enough clearance to bring these up and push them in and get that line to lay in that groove right there on both sides. And you'll see these lay out properly like this. Now I'll slide this top piece back on and tighten all this back up right here and take the slack out of that. And that's how you take care of that throttle piece right there. Anyhow, catch you on the next video. Okay, I'm doing up the throttle. I showed how you got to line all this stuff up. Anyhow, in this little package right here of switches, it'll go into that notch. If you look, I'll put it right up there and I'll see how it locked in. Okay. Now right down here, you'll see right where my finger is, there's a hole right there, and on the bottom of this throttle, if I could show it, try it off over there, there is a notch right there, so that will lock your throttle in place there, and it gives you about that much clearance on the back end of that, so you can still put weights and stuff to pretty this up on the end. But you see, I got that in place. I kind of clamped it with my hand, and it's locked in. You want all that stuff to lock in, and that will lock in. See, I got it locked in there too. Okay, this will rotate separately, and what I want to do after I figure out my angle of my handlebars and everything, I'm going to come back and adjust these to where this is fairly level, and I want to get this down, these levers down, to where I can grip them good. You don't want them up high, you want them kind of down low at an angle like my hand is. So I'm going to adjust them later. These are to be, I got these tight to get them out of the way, but I wanted to show you guys these notches to put this stuff in on the Heli-Bars. And I'll get all this bundled together, probably use a loose zip tie or something. And I noticed there's a clamp right there, and this fits in pretty nice in there. And that was on, this will be the brake line. Okay, more good stuff. We'll get to another video. Okay, I forget stuff, and so I'm going to re-catch up. All my screws I am using thread locker, the red thread locker. This one from Kimball Industries I get from a nut and bolt place. It's a gel style, and I really like it. Like I said, I'm taking all my screws and I'm coating just the ends of them, and I kind of rub it around. I forgot one thing on this little mount right here. There is a guard that goes over like this that will protect that line or that wire, and it kind of cleans up the look. So I forgot about that, and it'll bolt. You can see where my thumb is, where that's where it's going to bolt up. So that should catch me up. Now that I've got it screwed on, and to adjust out the throttle, basically all I'm going to do is just undo these where my thumb is. Sorry about that. I'll undo that and feel that throttle and get as little play out of it as possible, and then use these nuts to jam it down with. I believe the nut is 10 and this is 8 millimeter, so that's something else. And I'll put them in a place, kind of turn them like that, so I can bundle them with all this stuff up here. Excuse me. But anyhow, that's where we're at for now. Okay, let me get my flashlight on. Okay, you can see the wire right there that goes underneath the clip. Now you can see I did a loose of this bundle that goes into that cap right there. Make sure that cap points down, that way water don't get into any connectors. I put that connector back to hold that bundle, and I did a loose zip tie right there, and you can see I did another zip tie right below it, tied around them, and I didn't use, you see that bottom clamp down there that's on the fork tube. I didn't use it because that stuff wouldn't reach it then. Now you can see the wires are out of the way of the fork tube. They're not going to rub. Now I'm going to move this over. Okay. Now the throttle cables coming down, I wanted to run by the fork tube, but they kept popping out on this side. So this is the brake components right there. You see the hard lines? And I did a zip tie around that to kind of leave them in that place on this side of that fork tube. That way they're not going to jam up. And I've been going back and forth, and so far it's not jamming up. So okay, got that work done. Let's go off to another video. Okay, I found another cover right here, and I Loctited that in. So all this is set except for the lash or the throttle give, but that's what that's supposed to look like in there. And I do Loctite it down. All these are Loctited in place. This one I will move after I get everything in place. I'll get my levers down. Okay, off to another one. Okay, as far as setting up everything in here, I'm going to call it good. The only thing left is setting my handlebar angles, and I'll wait for a later video on that. But I put a zip tie there, right there. I got that clip on. I got a couple of zip ties there. And everything, let's see if I can do this. Get my flashlight in the way. Okay, you see how the wires are not hitting? I got gravel, makes it hard. Anyhow, I'm not using that lower mount. I'm going to see about pulling it out. That one there. The handlebars, or the cables, yeah, they're staying tucked up under there, which I wanted. That's how I wanted them to do, with a zip tie on that brake component there. That way everything turns nice, nothing jams up. The only reason it's jamming up because it's hitting gravel on the driveway there. But anyhow, that's what my goal was today. I got that set up on there, got the guard on there, got everything Loctited, except that mount, which will be near the last on how I want to rotate all that. So now I got to get the other side and keep on going. Anyhow, off to the next video. Okay, let's work on the left hand grip a little bit. This assembly of switches right here will be held in place by, okay, you see where my finger is? There's that little dot that lines up with that right there, and that locks it in place. Now I'm gonna get like a cloth and some alcohol and work on getting a lot of this adhesive off this grip right here. Now this again is the left side. Now I do have the bolts out of this unit, and I wanted to show you guys. Let me see if I can bring it up. That's P72. Now this screw fits in perfect into these screws, and I can't do it because I'm one-handed right now. Anyhow, I'm going to clean all this up, and then this line I'm going to run and get it situated. Probably run it through this and the plug. There's a cap right there. It's like it is on the other side, and this cap points down to keep liquid out of them connectors right there. But that connector, which is right here, sorry, will be red with the corresponding one, and that is the heated hand grip. Now I used a very long, thin, what was it, a Phillips screwdriver, and I'd run up in here and I'd make a gap, and I would put it up like this, and I'd pour alcohol down inside it, and that's how I released that glue that was down inside there. And I need to clean the inside of that some more and clean that crap off, and then I'll set that up, and I'll have that handguard set for this side. But I'm going to go ahead and bolt them up and then clean on all that, get that residue off, and get that prepped. And I have one little tube of glue that'll go in here that I'll use that to set that with. But I'm going to set that, keep stuff from falling. Okay, yeah, like this. See how that line comes out that way, and it'll follow right up here. But anyhow, and I'll run it down this batch and then up underneath here. I didn't remove the plastics because I could get to it through this, what do you call a glove box. But anyhow, that's the information for the left hand grip and all. Okay, I wanted to show a video of where I'm at right before I button all this up. I haven't put the glove box back in. I glued this, run the glue and used a stick to go all down on the inside of this grip. I put a new M8 by 30 for the weight. Now I run this by here. I wanted all this kind of centralized like that. It goes down in between this clip here and that one down there, and it comes back up right here where my finger is into that cover where all the connectors are. It's basically a water resistant. It keeps water down. But anyhow, I'm going to button the plastics back up, and then I'm going to go to adjusting my handlebars. I did replace these bolts, and I've already forgotten the size. It is an M8, and it's probably 30 millimeter long. I didn't remember. I did Loctite all them down, but I've replaced these because some of the heads were kind of kinked where somebody did not put the socket all the way down, and it kind of twisted them. And the few things I got left is putting the plastics back on. I'll sit down and adjust these all out and show y'all how I adjust them and show the ways that they can adjust and all. And then I'll do a video of showing how to bleed all these very easily, the brake and clutch right there. So that's where I'm at on this one right now. It's kind of a bad day out, so I don't think I'll do much out today. But anyhow, off to the next video. Okay, I'm going to redo this video because I screwed up the first one. At this stage, putting on the Heli-Bars, I have taken an Allen. What size is it? It's an 8. And I use it because it's easier to use, and I locking down this bottom lock bolt. And I'm using the short Allens because it's easier to get to them. Anyhow, what we're doing is we're going to be tightening up these caps. And I have replaced the cone screws for these cap screws because they are the cone screws are really easy to strip out. You don't have a lot of thread engagement into the bolt part. So it doesn't make a difference. It's not getting in the way, and it's not going to hook up on anything. So I switched them out, and I believe it is a, let me look, where is it, 5 millimeter that I switched to. And it's like 10 millimeter thickness, or depth. Now what I've done on these caps, on this side and this side, like I said, I locked this up so I could tighten this up properly. I put a line right there with a marker, and I have these, it took me a few tries to get this cap lined up with that. And what I'm going to do is when I re-loosen that to adjust all this, I'm going to use these marks to bring it down to the point where I'm going to, set it in. And that way I can go to this other side and do both sides the same, basically the same setup. And there's another cap like this underneath this. See, there's a round piece right there, and it's on the bottom of that. And I did the same screw on that one and on these. And I'm Loctiting them in place. This cap, dang, I can't see. This cap does not lock this piece into place. This jam bolt is what locks this to this. And it's the same for this to this. So tightening these caps up right now will not tighten all this assembly up. I can loosen that back up, and this will flop around. Now, I did that on both sides, and I wanted to show this to you. This is a limit bolt limit the movement bolt. There's a little notch right in there, and it limits how far this will go back and forth. And you can feel it right in there. But like I said, there's jam bolts right there, and then right there where my finger is, that locks that assembly, and that locks that assembly. You have this will move in this angle, and this will move in this angle, and that should give you a lot of range of motion. I still haven't adjusted these because I got to get this all in place first before I get this, because what your hand is going to be basically at a downward angle, and I want to get these at the right angles, and that's why I have them loose right now. I still haven't zip tied these up and out of the way, because, and also I want you to think of this as a preliminary adjustment to the handlebars, because I'll get, what I want to do next is go for plastics, then bleed the brakes, then I'm going to take it out, test drive it, make sure the angles are where I want. What I'm setting up is maximum comfort. I want to be able to do 1,000-mile days and not feel like I had the hell beat out of me when I get off. So I'm going to do a test run to see if I like them angles that they're at. And if I need to, I can adjust it a little bit more, and then I'll be done with that part as far as the Heli-Bars. But what else are we going to talk about? Crud, I forgot. Anyhow, but that's my job today, is to lock them caps in and try to get my adjustments set up. And I'm wanting to show you guys where the adjustments are at and how they are. Like I said, that's 8 millimeter, that's 5 millimeter, and stuff like that. So I'm going to get back to work and get another video going. Okay, a little bit of what I'm doing right here. As you can see, that grip right there, what I'm doing is I haven't done that adjustment yet. I'm still adjusting on this plane up and down like that. And if you can look at my arm, what I'm trying to do is get that forearm kind of at a slight downhill angle, and I do want to keep a bend in my elbow. That's very important. I got my butt all the way back in the seat, and I'm just adjusting and playing with these angles, because like I said, I want to get my forearm fairly straight. And what I'm trying to do is that wrist, take all the angles out of that wrist, and that way it's in a good, if I got all the angles out of it, I'm taking all the pain out of it. And so that's something to look at. I'm still playing with these adjustments, and once I get them, I'll lock them down, and then I'll go on to doing this. And let's get off to another video. Okay, on the adjustments, you can see I put a line right there, and I put a line right there, because automatically when I say, the line's still lined up. Okay, we're still using marks right off over there on the top of that big cap. Same over there. I'm just getting back, and I'm getting them level. You know, like that. My bike is sitting at a lean. It's at the end of the driveway. I'm kind of satisfied with where these are. You can see my arm. I got a downward trajectory to it. I've been playing with these. I put a mark right here and a mark right there. These are closer than these two are. So I'm trying to get my angles out. Now the biggest problem I had with the Concours is that it put my wrist angles at horrible angles, and I was always all the time trying to bring my elbows in to get them angles out, because it hurts so damn bad. What I'm trying to do is, you can see my wrist. I brung this forward quite a bit to take these angles out of my wrists, and that's part of my theology is about getting this, to be very, very comfortable. And you notice that these are all kind of rotated back, the switches, but they are locked in place. But that is what I was looking at, getting all the angles out of my wrist and getting this at a downward angle, getting a bend in my elbow too. That is to, I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but if you keep your elbow straight, it loses blood pressure to your arms, and that's a part of the reason why ape hangers and them all tall handlebars like that really hurt your hands. But that's some of the things, what a little bit I know of, and we'll pass on to you guys and get this all set up properly to where I have a very comfortable high performance machine. And that's why I did the markings, to try to even these up as much as possible. I'm going to look at it some more. I mean, from what I'm seeing, I'm pretty daggum set it up pretty good. This may be just a little bit down, but as far as these, this angle, I'm thinking I'm pretty good on that. It's just this one seems to be a little bit down. But like I said, I'm going to play with these and work on this, and then I'll work on probably getting these set up to where you can see how my hand is. I want that where I can reach that clutch very easily. I haven't done that one, and you can see the brake is sticking way the heck up. I still have these tight, so I can't rotate it down. But once I'm happy with where I have these set at, I'm going to go back and I'm going to zip tie these. You can see how this is going to hang down. I do not want that rubbing on the tank or nothing, so I'm going to put all this up with zip ties. And you see, get this stuff out of the way. Now, I redone these because they kind of fell out of place. That's a 10 millimeter that holds that in. I did use Loctite on that. I may try to scoot that down inside that container. It's a little rubber thing that's going on a piece of black strap, and just to get that down, but part of it is I took all, when I'm turning this steering wheel, all that stuff was jamming into stuff down there. I'll give that one last look. Now, I think there's a little bit of wires I may have to zip tie out of the way down there, and that's just to make sure no wires get rubbed on whenever I'm turning the handlebars, and I don't want no jam ups when when I'm turning and stuff. So I've been sitting on that thing for a little while. Get in the seat, get my butt in the seat where it's always going to be, and work on setting these up where I want them at my maximum comfort level. And that's when you get to doing yours, work on getting it at your maximum comfort level. That's what you're going to have to do, because that's how you ride good. Now, anyhow, I want to show you guys this. I got a little bit more on this side than this side, so I'm probably going to be a little bit skewed on that. That's something you got to look at when you're doing these. Look at your thread right there. See that knurling? That's called knurling. It's a form that this thing can get grip on and hold it in place. I mean, let's look, maybe an 1/8 inch out, so I ain't worried about it right now. So I'm going to work on this some more, and then we'll get back to another video. Some more information to add to what we're doing. This little spot right here, you could probably make lines on it and use that as a reference guide right there to adjust on both sides to let you know what you're doing. I got thinking about this, and somebody was smart, they could scribe lines on that and use this metal piece as a reference mark to adjust them beforehand. What else? Okay, that screw down there that locks that in is an 8mm. This one that locks this in is a 6mm. Now I'm going to put in my tool case the 6 and the 8 Allen like that for when I'm on the road and I need to adjust these out or whatever. I'll have that in hand, but I'll have to check through my tools to make sure I have that in my bag, in my tool bag. But I'm sitting right here, like I was saying earlier. I'm going to sit on this a while and try to, make sure this is where I want it to be. And I'm going to work on this some more. So hang on for that next video. Quick little piece I wanted to add in. If you get a set of these, like I said, I would take these apart, and right here, if you have the ability to scribe, lines in a proper, like a 1/16 of, not 1/16, an 1/8 of an inch increments, or maybe 1/16, put lines like that right there, and lines right up here on top of this. I think if you do that, it could be a much easier process in setting this up to where you're even on left and right. That was a little idea I had, and I wanted to share that with y'all. So anyhow, I'm still working on this. Got more to do. Okay, now you guys are going to think I'm crazy, but I've been sitting here a while working on this. I ended up loosening these and bringing this down a little bit more. I wanted to bring it a little bit closer to me, and I've retightened these. While working on this angle, which is this, I come up with an idea where I lean back and I get my hand out, get all the angles out of it, and I'm test fitting it. And you see how I'm trying to get that proper angle? That way I'm at a natural setup. I may move it out just a little bit more, but this is part of that process I want you guys to work on, is to work on maximum comfort. And you see I have moved this around. I've got to get these wires where they're kind of untangled, where it can move around a little bit more. I'm going to angle that more. But that way you see how my fingers are straight, and it's right on the clutch. That's what I'm wanting. And I lean back and get my arm kind of natural, and I fit it up against it like that. And that's where I ended up taking some of that angle out of it. You remember I had it splayed out a little bit more like that, more motocross style, but I bring it back in. So I'll retighten all this and kind of play with it some more and see where I'm at, and then maybe go get my tool so I can loosen that one up and readjust that. So off to another video. Alrighty. At this stage, what I'm working on is getting wiring kind of out of the way. I had to get some other bolts to put. I had these ram mounts that I installed, and it was all different bolts that were holding these on. So I went and I got 10 millimeter head, and this one's 40 millimeter length, and I believe that one's 40 or 45. I know these were a little bit longer, and I believe a 4 millimeter shank. They're kind of a small diameter, but anyhow, Loctited them in, got them in place, got these down where my hand was on. When I'm resting my hand, it's straight and flat, and I just reach right up there and get that clutch. I did that way with the brake over there. Now, like I was saying, I was working on bundling these cables and all this wiring, and I'm going to try to put these heads up. They do have that sharp edge, which is typical for that when you use them side splitters to use these, but you try to put these in a place where you're not going to hurt yourself. Now, I did bundle these up and push these out of the way, and there was something important if you look inside where the glove box area is, you'll see a bracket right there that I'm pointing at. You can see how I got two wraps on that bundle right there. And as I'm moving this around, this was moving in and out, and I didn't want it to touch the fork tube. And so I used them wraps and kind of pulled that edge over. Now when I get over to full lock on this side, turning it to the right, that's where it gives me a little resistance down in there. You can see it stretching them wires out down there. I test this and it kind of comes back. You can see it comes back where it doesn't rub on anything. It's going through that wire clip down there. The wire clip that's similar to this wire clip. And these are kind of going and staying in a pocket area where they're not getting in the way. So I'm good with that. That's kind of like how I wanted everything. And with time, these degrade in the sun. You know, there is some that are UV resistant out there. These are what I had available. Get them at Harbor Freight. I put a bundle up, one or two up underneath here. They call them cable ties. I got these out at Harbor Freight. Had them for quite a while. Maybe I didn't get them. I don't know where I got them at. Anyhow, I was working on that. Getting on the other side. Let's take a look on this other side. And you can see how I wrap these up. I had one that holds the bundle and two that supports them. I wanted some extra support up here. I got one underneath where the grip is there. I put a couple up here, and where the cables are, right down here you can see the cables. I put a couple through here to keep the throttle cables in this general location, because I wanted that out of the way. Now these wires that come off this bundle right here, I put a tie wrap and kind of pulled them in that direction away from that axle tube. And these with that cap, this has a cap same as that other side over there, and I put it back in that loom. That's where my thumb is, and that kind of, you see how I can move this. It doesn't rub and it doesn't cause restriction. This bundle of wire from the factory was wrapped around the throttle cables right here, and it made it really hard to kind of move this around, and I had undone that. Apparently that is a factory problem that nobody knows about, and I do. Got one wrap right there, and so this is staying free like I wanted. So, and as you could see how I marked this up here, using this as a baseline, and I had this all the way up. That's where I marked that line, and that's where you can see them notches right there. Use that to equal everything out. Now on the front side, I used this as my baseline, and using that as where I went to, or the furthest out. No, I did it on this up here. Okay, catch me on my mistakes. Anyhow, new hardware right here. Getting things set up. Now, everything's all wrapped up. Get the cables out of the way of the brake right there. Yeah, I'm going to have to move that. That's hitting right there. That means I'm going to have to rotate this up just a little bit to get past that. Yeah, I'm glad I found that. That little noise you heard out of this was the vent. When it gets in the sun, this tank expands, fuel expands, and it's just letting off some steam. But anyhow, that's why I didn't get my plastics on, is because I was working on getting them cables situated. I want this to turn smoothly and not jam up, and I think that'll do it for today. Next step, get the cables on and then start bleeding. Now when I start bleeding the brake, I'm going to go on the front, and I'm going to go to that left side and use that caliper there to do a reverse bleeding. It's going to bleed from there to there and up. And I'm not going to show much about bleeding because I'm going to do another video about that, but I'm going to use a V5 reverse bleeder. And that's the best way I have found. It really works great. And so for this video, I'm going to call it good, and we'll get off to another video, different work going on. Okay folks, I'm going to let this be the last video in this series about me doing the Heli-Bar installation. As you see, I got my plastics back on. I've been going through all this bad weather and a bunch of illness here lately, so I've been pretty lax on getting a couple of videos out and working on this thing. But as you see, I've put my accessories on here: my phone mount, my drink mount, my tire pressure monitoring system. The original one has gone bad, and I'm not going to spend the money to fix it. I've got my GPS mount down here. The Heli-Bar had a 1-inch ball set up on here. I've got a short 2-inch or a little bit more, whatever. I could lean that up a little bit. What I do is I have this set up to where when I'm setting down, I get a view of my gauges and get a view of the GPS. And it's weather well protected, protected from the weather. I have the extra line wrapped around here, and it goes through the 2 clips that go on the fork tubes, and then comes up through here, and it's tied into the back of this. So whenever I just plug my GPS unit in, the power is right there where my fingers are, right there. I went with shorter, like I said, about the 2-inch ball mount, or ram mount, sorry. And I also shortened this one up. Put them in tight right there. I did put my original, the original Kawasaki Concours bar weights back on to be more effective. I believe they engineered these handlebars to knock out as much vibrations as possible, but I wanted to also knock out as many as possible. As you can see, I keep my accessories away from the clutch and brake reservoirs. These will both be drained. I'm going to do a reverse brake bleed system, which if you go on eBay, you can find them as a V5. It is by far the best and easiest way to bleed the brakes on this. Now, a couple of other things to show you as far as, setting up what I did. A lot of the last video or so that I was showing was setting up the compound angle of the handlebar. And to me, part of that, like say when you hold your hand out and you make a fist, you're going to have a compound angle when you grab something. And that's what I was trying to get as best as possible in setting these handlebars up for me. And you could see in some places how I used markers. These are the adjustment areas, and I wish this is something that Heli-Bar could do if they would just scribe lines in here and something like that. You could use this angle right here, like saying count the number. If you had 4 or 5 whatever lines, then you could transfer that one to here and set them up easier. Now, as you can see, this is different than this one, but I tried to get them as close as possible. These are very, very, very well built. There's a lot of good engineering in them. I was looking at doing a system similar to this mount, but it used a handlebar, like an ape hanger handlebar, that you can get back further. And after looking at it and see how cheap they were compared to these, I just, you know, this is the way to go. Don't mess with that other cheap stuff. You know, this is the only way to go. Now, as you can see, I bundled my lines, my electrics, and everything. I did have problems on the fork tubes, especially on that side, of lines rubbing and getting caught, and it would make it give it a jerky steering feeling, and I took care of a lot of that. These were just handy. These are zip ties. The problem with a zip tie is that you can get a sharp edge, like you can see my finger right there. And another problem with these is that these ones I got right here are not UV resistant, and then with a season or two they're going to go bad. But I used many of them, and I kind of spread the load out is what I was doing. And to make this where when I'm turning it doesn't rub against anything. And it did work out pretty good. Now I've got bundles in other places, like where my thumb is right there, where I did right there and there. And that was to tidy everything up. I don't know if it looks trashy or not, but anyhow. I still got, you know, like I said, I'm just going to use this to close this video down because it's way long. But I want to show you guys, you know, when you set up everything, set up your stuff like I'm getting the information from my tires. I got my drink, I got my phone here, and I still got easy access to all my switches. You want to set things up like that. I could move this over, but it would get in the way of my switches, which I could do. You know, it's up to me, it's whatever. But I tried to set this up to where I could look down and see my speedo and my tack, you know, tack real easy. Stuff like that. I prefer the short levers. I do use 2 fingers on my clutch and 1 finger on the brake. I like to be able to pull that sucker in and keep these 2 fingers right here wrapped around. That's how I use this system. Now these are the cheapies, and I do have them pinned. That way I got them set where I wanted and they don't move. The problem with these cheapies like here is that these internals go bad and then they start moving all over the place. So that's why I pinned them. I just drilled a hole, put a nail through it, and just kind of braided it on both sides. And it was easy to do. For a good set of levers, I'm not joking, you're going to pay $300. That's a lot of money. But for where you're at, what I'm trying to do, I'll do another video about my V5 bleeder that I'm going to use on the clutch bleeding and the brake bleeding. But I'll go a separate video on how I am setting this up for touring to add more comfort to it. I've got a few more mods. I'm going to throw this in the shop, have the valve lash done, valve lash, spark plugs, power delete, and a bunch of other things. I'm going to try to paint that little lower piece right there, do a little bit more cleaning, put a new radiator in it and stuff like that. I've got a lot of little stuff I want to be doing. But always do your stuff during the winter. That's the time when mechanics are starving and you can get your bike in and out of the shop and get stuff done. So for now, I'll finish this on the Heli-Bar installation. Hopefully you could use this so you could do it too, save some money, and get out there and have good riding with your Concours or any other bike you use this on. Anyhow, I'm glad you guys watched. Hope you enjoy, and we'll catch you on my next video.